This program and its contents are designed for information and educational purposes only. This program does not render medical advice or professional services and is not intended to be a substitute for professional care. The information provided here should not be used for the purposes of diagnosing or treating a medical or psychiatric condition. If you have or suspect you may have a health problem, consult your healthcare provider.
This program is brought to you by Movement Solutions. On the Positive Momentum TV, I'm Diane Silva, and again I have Teri and Eric Bernstein, and they have what they're calling road travel adventures, and we're going to kind of wrap up this portion of their journey as well as kind of put it in a nice little bow and talk about this portion. And when we come back, maybe in the spring or the summer, whenever we come back, we'll bring them back and we can see how far they've gotten. But let's kind of go with, we were talking a little bit on the last segment about the emotional component, and we touched briefly on the financial.
Sure.
So, and then how it impacts your child, and then how it relates to, other phases in our lives, whether it be, our grandparents or whatever. So kind of, let's start with one, whatever you're comfortable with, and we'll just run with it.
All right. Well, one of the things in trying to sell everything we own and sell the house and buy a trailer and hit the road is we know what we want, he and I as a couple, but sometimes we forget the impact that it has on our daughter and our friends.
Right.
And like I said, we have friends who come out from California and they stay at the house and they visit and they have things that they do, and without the house they're not able to do that.
Right.
So that's an impact. And then just our daughter, in the sense of watching her struggle with seeing her home potentially being sold,
Right.
watching the things in the house being put out for a garage sale. So one of the things that we didn't calculate into this is, for us, we're excited of what we're doing. For her, it's a sense of loss, and a loss that she doesn't really understand because it's not her dream.
And that kind of brings me a little bit, and I hope you don't mind, is to, like, my mother-in-law who's got Alzheimer's, and it wasn't her dream to sell her house. As a matter of fact, she resisted. She didn't want to get rid of her stuff. It feels like her life is being taken over.
Yeah.
And I can see where your daughter may feel, wait a minute, I'm almost an adult, or I am an adult, but I don't want this change.
Well, a lot of times possessions, things that we have, are an extension of our identity. They're not just possessions.
Right.
They're not just sentiment. They will have them because this identifies us.
Right.
Like my husband, he has a lot of books because he identifies himself as a reader. Mm-hmm. And so therefore, he has that. And so, for her, we were putting Brittany in this position of her suddenly having to make judgments on the items that she has and values on things. So, do I sell it to her or not? The whole thing. But for her, it wasn't filled with excitement or with joy. It was dread and trepidation and what happens to me.
That's because her collection is just starting.
That's true.
She doesn't have much. She's not the kind of kid that has, some kids you walk in their room and it's just like, oh my gosh, there's so much. She's not. She's more on the, this is what I want, this is what I like kind of a thing. And, but even within that, you grow out of things.
Right.
And so, but for her to, take, say, for instance, her Cabbage Patch dolls. Well, of course, she doesn't play with them anymore, but they're hers. They're part of her history, part of her memories. I mean, there's more to that doll than just that doll you see.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so how do we help her in identifying what is to be kept and what she really does want to let go? And then how does she make peace with this thing that we're imposing on her?
And that, I totally agree. I understand that. And it's hard for us to see the value behind this Cabbage Patch doll or this piece of fabric or whatever it is. And it doesn't matter which generation we are. Yeah. Even if we were the ones put in this position where we had no choice but to.
Yeah. Or
somebody was forcing us or putting us in a position where, against our desires.
Yeah.
It's,
Well, isn't most of the stuff that you acquire to trigger a memory of a place and time?
I'd never given it that much thought, so I
Yeah.
can't say.
I
but-
mean, maybe not, you know, your kitchen utensils, but things that have no.
No, see, I disagree with that.
Okay.
Because a lot of my kitchen stuff came from my grandmother.
Okay.
So there's that passing down of history.
Right.
So-
You
so
know, what you
everything
see as a
then
rolling pin is just a rolling pin.
Is
You know,
grandma's
is the same
rolling
thing to that Cabbage Patch doll to my daughter.
Yeah.
You know, that's grandma's rolling pin. And I remember as a child, I baked with it. Now, it's not very functional anymore. They have better ones out, but I still can't get rid of it.
Right, and I think that goes with like your daughter's Cabbage Patch, your rolling pin, my mother-in-law's things, you know, and it's just, it identifies, there's that memory. There's, like, as
Yeah.
you said in the last segment, it's not just an item, there's that octopus underneath who's, you know, it's got, okay, oh, I remember this and I remember that, and oh, where was I when I bought this? And
Yeah.
oh,
And just
you know,
imagine
my
that-
kids were just born, or
And the older you get, the more.
well, and she's 86, and all
Yeah.
her stuff
Yeah.
is sitting in storage. And as me, you know, the logical side is going, you're spending all this money to store stuff that when you die, everybody's going to get rid of because nobody really wants. They don't
Sure.
have the attachment, but she can't get rid of it, and it's one way it keeps her happy. It's her
Yeah.
money, you know. Who am I to say anything? But we sold her house
Yeah.
because she's in assisted living because she can't live there anymore,
Right.
and that breaks her heart.
But see, to me, I mean, yes, things are in storage. See, I'm that solution-based person.
So
you
am
know,
I,
You give
but-
out their problem, I look for a solution. I
Uh-huh.
would take the things in storage and I would rotate them. I would bring out a couple of things, bring it to wherever she is, and then bring something else
She
back.
has a bedroom, so it's hard to bring, you know, her
Yeah, right,
grandfather
she's-
clock or her couch.
Oh,
or,
you're talking about really big items.
I'm talking a full storage unit plus a smaller storage
Yeah.
unit, and you know, she doesn't have the space to you know, she has a bed and a recliner and a little bitty table that fits in her room, and she's got one of the bigger rooms.
Wow.
Even half her clothes are in storage because
Sure.
I mean, I'm totally going to segue, but what a statement that is to our society that we render our elder to such a small space in assisted living that it's not affordable to be in something where you can at least have a
Oh.
room of the things, some of the things that you own.
here's the problem. It's not that it's not affordable. Well, it is as it isn't. She's in assisted living memory care.
Sure.
A fee for this is
It's exorbitant.
it's and she's got long-term care insurance, and she still has to pay a portion.
Sure.
And what you know, it's like I said, she's got one of the bigger rooms,
Yeah.
but she can't live on her own. And
Yeah.
bring
I
her-
mean, there are many seniors who live in assisted living, but they do have apartments with kitchens and a
well,
separate bedroom.
yeah,
and
there
all
are
that.
some, but
Yeah.
even
her,
that.
Her mother-in-law is getting a different kind of treatment where it's not necessary to.
Yeah, she went from a 3-bedroom home
Right, yeah,
with
exactly.
with a full basement full of memories,
Yeah.
her treasures,
Exactly.
to, you know, down to a one bedroom or 2-bedroom, and then a 1-bedroom, and now she's in a bedroom.
Yeah.
Even still, there's just, but her treasures, you know, no. So,
But there's also, I think, that aspect, at least I find with me, there are some things that I want to pass on to my daughter.
and she does too.
You
and-
know, it's that family tradition thing. It's like my rolling pin will eventually become Brittany's, although she may never know my grandmother. You know, I mean, that will be 5 generations who's had that rolling pin. Or, you know, we have a hope chest. I mean, there are just things that the value is not it's not a monetary value.
Right.
It is a historical value that goes beyond just even your personal history.
Right.
Because it is an identity that keeps you in a family unit, you know, and so, yeah.
I get that. You know, you got the mother's wedding dress, who was a grandmother's wedding dress, who was,
Yeah.
you know, or, there's just they're tangible, but the memories are intangible. You can't put a price tag on it.
Exactly.
You know, and you can't I don't care if I have to get a storage unit for this. I'm not parting with
Well,
it.
it just occurred to me that sometimes when you are given things from someone else, you kind of accept the role as a custodian of it.
Yeah.
Because
That's a good way of
as
putting
you're
it.
talking about the rolling pin, so I spent the last 3 months with my mother before she passed away, and one of her achievements in life is she was the ladies poker champion one year in Arizona,
Okay.
which comes with a trophy.
Yes.
The trophy now sits in, you know, my study. And, you know, it has no value to really anybody else. It's not like made
Right.
of gold or anything. But this is like one of those issues, well, I don't want to discard it.
Right.
And,
And
yeah,
a
it's
picture just won't do it service.
No, no. And even pictures. It's like, for a while there, I was scrapbooking. I was making really beautiful scrapbooks for my daughter and stuff like that. She don't really look through them. I don't look through them.
Yeah, we
I
have
have one from our
scrapbooks of
wedding.
trips.
We
Yeah.
don't look through them,
Right.
you know. But there was a point where I put them all. I put a bunch of family trips on a video. Well, we'll watch that once in a while,
Okay.
and then like I have a digital frame. Well, now all the pictures are on there that we like because it's a random thing and we get to be reminded, and it's passive. We don't have to do anything.
Right, you don't have to
You
sit
know,
there,
I mean,
even
that's
flipping the
work to open
page.
up a book. But I mean, you know, what a change where when I was a kid to open up the book, the family book was a big deal.
Oh, yes.
You know, and grandma got around, and it was like we all sat around and talked. Well, we don't really do that. You know, we'll have the conversations when we see the pictures flip up. So even a 60s child, I have now become more of a digital age person. You know, and so like when we look at getting rid of our stuff, how much of it can we digitalize? I think I said that wrong.
Digitized.
Thank you.
okay.
And so, you know, to have that picture frame with all of the pictures and stuff like that, that we're not losing our memories, because in an RV, there isn't walls that you can hang pictures on.
Right.
That's just not there, where the digital frame will allow for that. You know, so it's like, how do we even change what we have and keep our memories and bring them with us
Okay,
in the smallest package possible?
so I have another question, which
Sure.
is kind of, you know, I'm visualizing when you're talking about these pictures and the grandma pictures, and they're handed down from generation, and you flip over and there's the writing on the back and everything
Yes.
else. How do you digitize that so it's sequential
can't.
with
You-
what you're doing? So
Yeah.
you know,
You
you
lose
still want
that.
those pictures. You still
Yes.
want to hold on to them, because that's the explanation of
And
who's
not only
what.
that, you know, in some future dystopian world when the electricity cuts out. I mean, any movie we were just watching, I forget what it was, Unbroken, I don't know. You'll see movies where everything in someone's life has gone to crap, but they got one little photo of either their wife or their children or
Yes.
something, and they hold it dearly. Soldiers in
Right.
wars past,
Well,
always.
you carry a picture of us in your wallet.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
know-
it's. I mean, we still the school photographs are still a good business for that very reason.
Yeah.
You know, but it is an interesting question of how do you in this day and age make it accessible to you, because we all have such shorter attention spans than we did a long time
Yes.
Or
ago.
you're just
know.
trying to remember more things.
No, we have shorter attention.
That too.
That
I think
combined.
they're both. I think it's both. But you know, you had talked about one time about, you know, like your books.
Yeah.
You're looking at this book. I want to read this book. Well, that's 8 hours out of my life. Do I really want to read it? And I think that's kind of where our attention span is going, at least at our age.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm again not speaking for anybody but me, and Eric, because he said it. Was, you know, do I really want to invest this much
Yes.
time of my life in something like this? Just like you talked about losing your job, you know, and the time you have left, you don't know how much time you have
Right.
left. And that's where I'm kind of looking at this going, do we really want to go someplace we don't want to be
Yeah.
when we are this close to, well, I don't care if you're 2, you still don't know how much time you have left.
Yeah.
But, you know, we look at it, I got longer.
Sure.
Here we're kind of going, well, the sand's running a lot faster. What the heck, who turned it up?
Well, I don't think the sand's running faster. It's we're way more cognizant of that sand.
Okay.
And where, as a young child, it's not even an option because you feel invincible.
Yes.
And that's what allows you to go out and explore the world, because you have that nothing's going to happen to me, and you'll take those risks. And then eventually, as you become a little older, you start doing calculated risks. And then, you know, you've invested in things and you have a family and yada, yada, yada. Then you get to us and you're kind of like, that cloud got really big and it's staring me right in the face on a
Tick,
regular basis.
Tick, tick, tick.
Yes, and what have I done of value in the last 5 minutes that improves my life as a person, but also improves somebody else's life? What is it that I'm
Exactly.
able to give back into the universe? It can't be all just me.
No.
You know, because then I don't have a fulfilled life. I don't have a well-rounded world.
Sure.
You know, so it's like when I'm doing stuff, it's like, okay, You know, how else does it
How do
impact
I
the next
serve?
person?
I mean,
Yeah, how do I serve?
I mean, this woman here, since pretty much the moment we moved to Omaha and got Brittany, has been a Girl Scout troop leader, to the point where it would be like having two jobs, like the
Okay.
job that you work and this other job that was easily a 20 to 30 hour a week volunteer job.
Right.
But now, finally, because Brittany's in college and we're having these plans, she's finally ready to release that service part of her life to something
At least that
much
No, 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 no.
service.
I haven't given up service. I've been doing service for years. But yes, the scout troop
Right.
is a difficult thing to give up
Well, I can
because
imagine.
I've had it for like 8 years and I've grown it. I had 35 girls. I have middle school through high school. So I don't have little ones. I have the older ones. And which is a challenge in itself.
Oh,
But it's
yeah.
a lot of fun too.
Right.
But it was a second job, and to have something that you've nurtured and to have something that you've grown, and you know you're impacting, you know, these young girls. I mean, let me rephrase. I don't know if I'm impacting anybody because I always feel like it's such an arrogant thing to say. But you know, I'm putting an opportunity out there for what they choose to do with it. I'm
Right.
creating that for them at least, and you know, so but. To give that up, to let that go.
And to transition, to hand it off.
Yes, to hand it off. And will the next troop leader do as many things and be as
Sure.
active, you know, as I was with the troop, and you know, and stuff like that. And but you're right, that whole thing of it's now theirs, and I have to allow it to be theirs and not come in and go, oh no, 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 you don't want to do that.
Right, and that's just like what you were saying about, or one of you were saying about the house. You know, when you, are they going to treat this, my stuff like this? Are they? It's not your stuff. When you hand it over,
Yes.
when you hand it off, it's so hard to let it,
Sure.
the whole thing go, including the emotional attachment. And people say, let it go. Well,
Well,
how
see,
do
I
you, how
had
do you
a-
let something go?
See, I had a moment though, because when we were having our estate sale, in addition to like all these books, videos, I have record albums because I am of the age where that's how you experienced your music. Not a super lot, but maybe 200, 250. And I had a guy come in and he goes, I know you haven't sold many of the records, but I'm really interested in your turntable. Because I was selling the whole stereo as well. And I had that moment, because to sell the turntable is to not have the ability
Right.
to listen
Yeah.
to the records. And you know, and because my wife is like, you know, get her done.
Yeah, I
As Larry the
understand.
cable guy would say, well, you know, if we're here to downsize, one way or the other, this is going to have to disappear. And I realized that as much as I love the emotional memory of records, you know, if they're not in pristine condition, they really kind of sound crappy compared
Yeah.
to CDs. And I said okay to him, and I sold the turntable. And then I gathered up my records a few days later after the sale and went to a store in Benson that actually just deals in vinyl. And he went through my records. He says, I don't want these, but these I do want. And he paid me like $3, $4 per record
Oh,
of the ones that he wanted, which shocked me. You know, then I went to Half Price Books and brought the other ones that I knew were kind of beat up, and so it was a gamble. People wouldn't really want them because they knew they were going to be noisy, and they gave me some money, and now I have my last 25 really pristine ones, and I'll go back to the other guy because now I have no intention of ever listening to them
Right.
again. And I'll make that last bit of money, and although the records are just a small part of this whole process, it will be done.
but
And
it's
that'll
a
be the end
step.
of record collecting.
Well, and it's interesting because this time with this situation, I'm the observer. I'm not involved emotionally with those records at all. In fact, I'm like, get those musty things out of here.
Right, she felt that because they were sitting in the room that it was
Well,
kicking
it's
up
starting
her
to smell
asthma.
musty because, you know, anyway.
Cardboard 40 years old does that.
Yeah, exactly. That just happens. But to watch him in that first, when I saw the turntable leave, I was shocked. Because he had in his mindset, he wanted to let things go when they weren't needed anymore. So in a sense, the records would go first, then we would sell the turntable.
okay.
You know, it's like we won't sell the furniture until we're really ready to leave, which isn't realistic, but it's emotional.
We
and
made
it's
plans.
illogical. I mean, it's logical, not illogical. So when I saw the turntable at the garage sale leave, and then, you know, I came in and I looked at him, I didn't say anything, and he goes, well, it's gone. And it was just this dramatic moment, and I'm like, whoa, what? He goes, and he points, and I was like, okay, so no. But my point being was that there was that day, there was that lull, and then the next day was like, okay, I'm going to gather them all. So in other words, I was watching him go up and down, where one day he was going to get a good price, the next day he wasn't going to get a good price, and then, okay, now I got these. So it was all of this analytics that went on with him, on the value of them, and then also the emotions of, okay, these crates, this is how many crates I have left. Do I really, I can keep these few, I can keep a few, right? Yeah, but I don't have a turntable anymore. You know, so it was like, it was interesting to watch him. And so now he's at a point where it's just business. They're just albums, and they can just go.
But you had to go through that whole
Yes.
journey to get there.
You know, because the bottom line is I want to travel around the country. I want to spend a year going around the perimeter, going to Pacific Northwest, back through California where we know people. Wintertime, be in Arizona and Texas. Springtime, be on our way coming up through North Carolina, going up to Massachusetts where my father, you know, there's still this plan of doing a whole year of that. And, you know, I mean, I got a friend, you know, and without going into a big long story about him, he doesn't live any place, but he maintains 2 storage bins. He's maintained them.
I'm going to jump in here. You know, we're talking about having possessions and letting go of them. This is a gentleman friend of ours who is very much into meditation, into Buddhism, and not having possessions. And he chastised us, those of us who own homes, for being homeowners, although it's our couches he sleeps on. But when we found out he had 2 storage units of things that he can't let go of, it was such an eye-opening moment. And then it wasn't recently, you know, a couple of years ago we found this out, but it was one of those things of it doesn't matter, even if you are homeless, even if you are living in a tent, the need to possess or the need to have things that either remind you of home, create your identity, or has some value,
or distinguishes you from animals. And that's what I'm thinking, because, you know, animals can travel. Yeah. So it's just something that came to mind. So, like you said, you know.
Well, but it was just interesting in the sense that, you know, and he does this purposely. And he's done it for like, I don't know, what, 40, 30 years now or something?
30 years,
yeah. We call it couch surfing.
Okay,
Until we can't stand him anymore in the house, we tell him it's time to go. And, you know, he has a little bit of someone's house stuff there and some a little there in their basements and all. But it's just, I think, human nature to not necessarily have possessions, but the things that you do have the greatest value to you, whether monetary or not.
Okay.
You know, and so, and for him, you know, it'll be, we're waiting to the day that he has to go through his storage unit.
Yeah, he calls them tools. So somehow that makes them
better.
Well, you know,
I mean, it could be a book about a certain type of yoga technique or meditation or a guitar effect or something, but they're all
that's what's
tools.
Special to him. That's what's important to him. And that's what this is about, is finding what's truly important and how you identify yourself and now, that emotion. Go ahead.
Now, no matter what happens, though, we have part of the problem with owning the home and having the fluctuating job income and all that is we haven't really done any family trips in about 3-4 years.
Yeah, finances, and what happened is I got a good job, so it wasn't easy because it's sales. When you take off time, you lose your money and you go down in ranking, and so you don't want to take a vacation. You know, it's a challenge.
But at the weekend when we go into July into August, we're probably going to take a short trip to Indiana. Indiana is the mecca of trailer making in the United States. I don't know exactly why. They say it's because the Amish and they build good cabinets or whatever. But Indiana, they have an RV Hall of Fame. Also, we have been very interested in these types of trailers called teardrops.
Yeah, you mentioned
which from the side look like a teardrop. They come from back in World War II time, and basically the front half is a bed, and the back half is a kitchen with a flap that opens up. And so instead of having a tent at your campsite, you have a little teardrop. It keeps you off the ground, it keeps you dry. You sleep in a real bed as opposed to an air mattress on the floor. And so we're going to go to one of these jamborees.
Okay.
So we'll get to meet teardrop people to see if that's even
See,
real.
that's the thing. We have yet to actually physically see a
Because they're
teardrop
not
or
in
get
any-
in
Oh,
a
okay.
teardrop.
Right, and you may not.
We may not
work.
like
Right,
it.
right.
Yeah.
Well,
You
they're
know?
the anti-camp. They're the opposite of Camping World and Sam's Club. The people that we see
Yeah.
in videos, they don't like that whole world. They like the true, pure nature of being able to travel easy, stop, hop into bed. You
Yeah.
know.
You
So-
know, and it's whatever works for you as
Yeah,
an
yeah.
individual, and that's where we need to focus, is what works for you. What
Yeah.
you know, but
Yeah.
we got two individuals that are trying to make this work, and you have a different view. That, you know, we talked about the speedboat anchor,
Yeah.
you know, whatever, and then you got that tunnel that you're combining. You know, maybe the walls are just really thin, who knows? Maybe it is one tunnel that you get to the point where you're working.
Yeah.
But that's what works for you, and you're on a discovery. So
Oh, yeah.
I'm so intrigued, and I want you guys to come back, and,
Sure.
and as we, you know, you get further down your journey, you know, we won't bring you back probably till September or October,
yeah.
something like
We'll have
that.
the footage from Indiana.
That'd be good, and you'll find out maybe more of where you're trying to be.
Oh,
and, You know,
absolutely.
and what you've come up with, what your journey you have discovered. So is there any, we've got about a minute left. I'm wondering
Sure.
if there's any kind of advice you want to give or any points you want to make. And
I would say the only advice I would say is, even if it's scary and it's something you want to do it. There's always a will, there's always a way, and anything can be scary.
understood.
But if you want it,
Okay.
You just got to want it bad enough.
See you the next time.
Well, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you on the next episode of Positive Momentum TV. Have a great day. Positive Momentum TV is brought to you by Movement Solutions.